How do you figure out that why? Because I think that's a question that everyone my age has. I still have that question.
Hey, it's Harry
And Carson,
with the Pillars Podcast.
real talk for real growth.
Let's dive in. Carson, again, good to see you, and I'm glad we get to have this opportunity to talk about developing a real man and what it means to be a real man. And today we're going to talk about what really causes men to thrive in this area.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be back here with you.
Oh, yeah. I always get a kick out of it because you have so much, you're so much the guy that represents like all these young guys.
You're flattering me.
Well, that's totally true. I remember when we first met and you coming in, you're, a bouncy, excited young man, trying to get the best out of life. And I could recognize some of the challenges you have. Not that I personally went through them, but I've seen a lot of my friends when I played football in high school, and one of my best friends was the best looking guy on campus, kind of, and he was a quarterback.
Oh, that's
all
like the picture
struggles,
perfect.
yes, and all the struggles he went through because all the girls loved him, and he's so cute and everything like that. And I can imagine all the struggles you went through because all the girls think you're so cute.
I've never struggled.
But it's great to be able to talk to you in that regard, to know that you go through some real things that young men go through.
Yeah.
Let me just ask you a question, because we're going to talk about these 5 things that young men need. Just any of us, but we're particularly talking about men, that they need to thrive in life. And one of the first things is a sense of security. I know that the ability to feel the security in life matters like so much to all of us.
For sure.
In your age group and in your kind of generation, where do you think security has played in the vast majority of your friends and people you know growing up with security?
Well, I think it's important because that's what allows you to be confident in any given situation, or allows you to have that identity. Where you have security, you have more a sense of identity, right? Yeah. I don't know. I think it's just something that we're still learning, like leaving the nest from our parents and stuff. You had that security all your life, and now you kind of have to develop what your own sense of security is.
Yeah.
So I think for me and people my age right now, we're in this transition stage where, like I just said, we're leaving the nest with security that we had our whole life with our parents and the friends, but now all the friends are in college, and pretty soon we're moving out.
Yeah.
So we're developing like this new sense of security.
Yeah. Security, really, when you think about it, getting to this place at 18 years old or 19 years old, wherever it is that the time that you're moving out, that security, the level at that point starts way back earlier in life. And you think about this when you're being raised as a young man or a child, there's something about security that is very important. Let me give you these 5 things that really in life you need to be able to feel like you have wings and that you can face the world. Security is very important because that security gives you this sense of I'm safe.
Yeah.
Whatever I do, wherever I wander off, I'm safe. And then having a sense of belonging. This is where I belong. This is the area in which these people want me. They need me. I'm a part of this community. And then you need to have a strong sense of identity. When you're safe, you find a place to belong, you start determining who you really are. It's a good place to get your identity. And this is who I am. This is who the people around me are. They can tell me who I am and what I do and all. And that leads to then a level of competence. And if you're safe and you feel like you belong, you kind of know who you are, you start experimenting and doing things that you learn to get better and better and better and better at, that you develop this sense of competence. Like, it's
Right.
like, hey, I got this. I can do this. And once you have those things in line, and like we've talked in other podcasts about then having a sense of purpose, because if you can do all of these things, you want to know, well, where do I fit in? Why am I here? What do I use these competences for? And you use them. You have to have a expressed purpose of why.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have that why fulfilled in life, there is like a 6 feet span of wings to be able to go, I can make this happen. I can do this.
But how do you figure out that why? Because I think that's a question that everyone my age has. I still have that question.
Yeah. That why becomes developed in your understanding of when you go through this sense of safety that you can explore, figure things out, a sense of belonging where you find out this is really where I fit in. And then the competence is taking the skills there and expanding on those skills. And when you can take those skills with this is who I really am, applying these skills, then that's where we get a very clear picture now of the giftedness that we've received.
Right.
And when we understand that we have been made to do something very specific, we have a God who has made us for a very specific purpose, and we're able to allow that to flourish, those skills, those abilities, and find that where we are is where he's placed us. We're going to find things that fit. Wow, I do that, and that helps people. I do that, and that brings life to where we are. One of the things that I always say to young men, and as we go through our course, is that men have been created for the purpose of bringing life. And when you find purpose, your purpose will be allowing you to bring life to wherever it is you show up. Wouldn't that be what you want?
Yeah. I was thinking about something when you were talking about just the foundation of the security and how you develop as an individual. And then that kind of answers the question of why and your purpose. Hey, we're glad you joined us today.
If you're resonating with the conversation, hit subscribe and stay in the loop.
Got a question or a topic you'd like us to explore? Drop it in the comments. We're listening.
And remember, the Pillars podcast is not just about talking. It's about taking action.
Check the link for more. You're obviously older than me. I'm asking you.
Only by a little bit.
Only by a little bit, but you're older than me, and you have experienced this in your life. What did that look like for you? Your sense of security.
Oh, good question.
Who you became as an individual, and the questions of your purpose and why.
One of the things that I knew I grew up with was a really great sense of security. I was safe. I could explore the world. I was safe with my parents. I knew that they loved me. I knew that my parents stayed together and they were together. My mom, they raised 6 kids. Wow. My dad worked. He was the only one who really worked. My mom did odd jobs every once in a while, but she was always home after school. She was always there. So there was a sense of real security. And then I had an extended family too that I was safe with. And that gave me ability to explore. And I would go to different family members' house in different areas and began to feel this belonging. I belong to these people. These are the people who I belong to. And it felt good. It felt good when you can go to a 4th of July celebration and your whole family is all around. Doesn't that feel? You ever do that and you had your whole family around? The sense of belonging.
That's the best.
You're okay. Mm-hmm. One of the things I remember that I got to do with my uncles is when you're growing up, learning the skills, trying to do things, playing baseball and everything, and we get to go play softball on the 4th of July with our family. And it doesn't matter what age you were, You got a nice little pitch that you can hit and run, and you may just barely, it's a foul ball, but they're like, you got to hit, you got to get, you're running around the bases and they're acting like they're trying to get you out and they're throwing the ball. And you go through this whole experience and you feel, I belong here. This is a place for me. And I had that in life when I grew up. My parents gave us lots of opportunities to be able to do things, to learn to ride bikes, to play sports, to experiment with art and we got to do things that helped to develop our competence and what we were really good at. Then they really kind of encouraged that even more and more and more.
Yeah.
So when you do what you're good at, you get a sense of competence. You have this sense of, I'm okay.
I'm good at this.
And so that was a part of that. At a young age, we were introduced to a God who loved us and a God who has rights and wrongs, but he loves us, and he's not ever going to condemn us. And it was an invitation of pleasure to know God and to want to know God. That was my experience as I grew up. And then, even today, one of the big concerns for me, and especially young men of color who I work a lot with, is this identity that they have in a world that is telling them something different, that they are underprivileged, or that there's always someone there to put them down. I was raised with a father who never gave me that message. He gave me the message that there are obstacles in life,
right?
But there are other pathways to get over those. And because I have a God who opens the doors for me, and any door that he wants me in, I'm going to get in. And any door he doesn't want me to get in, I'm not going to get in. So I had this very vivid sense of my identity.
That really shaped you.
Oh my gosh, it shaped everything about my life.
Yeah.
We had a next door neighbor when we grew up who was, as far as I ever knew, as my parents described him, he was a grumpy old man.
I had one of those.
He happened to be a grumpy old white man who I learned later in life he was a racist man. But I didn't grow up aware of that.
Yeah.
And my parents would say, well, if your ball goes over into his yard, don't worry about getting it. And we were just like, why is he so grumpy? He should not be so grumpy. And as kids, we wanted to try to make him not so grumpy. So we would be very nice to him. And over time, this grumpy old man who had a garage full of carpentry stuff ended up inviting us over and showing us how to cut wood and doing things like this.
Wow.
And lo and behold, he is opening him up because we're not treating him the way that he is envisioning us.
Right.
And things changed. And so when you have a real sense of who you are, and you're able to have that cultivated within a culture, within an environment that allows you to achieve your purpose, accomplish your goals, all the other obstacles don't come in as ways of hindrances that prevent you from getting there. They just become obstacles that you learn to navigate to still get to where you want to. And that is the essence of being able to thrive in life when you have those elements that are foundational as you grow up.
So what does it look like for somebody who doesn't have those things, who doesn't have the safety or the security, and they're not confident in themselves as an individual? Because I know that in a lot of cases, people don't have a complete family or a complete dynamic going on.
Well, you probably can identify some people who you could assume didn't have that, and what they look like, what their life looks like. What would you observe, do you think?
A lot of like no confidence and unorganized insecurities. Yeah. Unorganized things that are just going on within themselves as an individual.
Yeah.
Patterns of just negativity,
confusion. I think the essence of that is insecurity. And when you have insecurity, that's part of not being safe. And when you're not safe, you're not likely to feel confident to explore.
Confident to do anything.
Confident, yeah, especially to explore things. And if you're not safe because you haven't really kind of found your place of belonging. When you find a place of belonging, that's why people will get into gangs, that'll get into other social interactions, that they find a place to belong. And if they can find a place to belong, they'll try to get all of that safety at, well, I belong here. These are my guys for me. And when you experience that, you may not get them to say, okay, hey, let's really actually see what you're competent about. What are your gifts and your skills? And let's develop those with some intention. And if you're just hanging out with people who kind of want you to fit in with them and do what they want you to do, you may not actually be encouraged to develop what you're specifically gifted at.
It's a false sense of belonging.
Yes. False sense of belonging, and then a false development of those skills that naturally, if we just say, hey, go and do what show us what you can do. Oh, that's great. You can do that. And you're enriched in those areas, you're going to find more fulfillment. But when you're doing something that you're really not, I don't think I really am good at this. I'm just doing it because these people are telling me.
Yeah.
You don't have that sense of competence that you need, and you don't feel like you're doing the adequate fulfillment of your purpose. So again, that insecurity, right, of what the lack of that would cause you internally to be able to have. And my hope, my desire is to give that to young men.
Yeah.
To give young men a real sense of who they are. And that's why when I work with a lot of young men, it's not just simply sitting in a office talking with them. I take them to go do things because I want to observe what it is that they can do. And if they're in a sport or if they're in activity, the chances are I'm going to be sitting in the stands watching them and experiencing what they can do. And then when I see them face to face, I can with confidence and with assurance say, wow, what a tackle. I saw when you did that. Because that's exactly what I got from my dad.
And it unlocks like something in them.
Oh my gosh.
That says.
I remember I'd have football practice, right? Or football games. I'd play on a Friday night in high school, or I'd play on a Saturday afternoon in youth football. And we'd go to church on Sunday. And I'd hear my father talking to all the friends that he knows at church. Oh, you should have seen my son. He ran that ball. He made this tackle. I would hear him talking to other people about what he celebrated in me.
Yeah.
And do you think that had any impact on my ability to feel confident about what I'm doing?
100%.
It had everything to do about that. And so I'm here overhearing this, and I'm going, yeah, I guess I really am good at that.
Yeah.
You know. In truth, my dad thought everything I did was exceptional. Apparently,
I am the man.
but it gives you this sense of competence and this confidence that you can say, I'm going to go try that. I'm going to go experience that. I remember one time, I got out of high school and I was working as a manager in a pizza restaurant. And, my dad was very, okay, he's a manager. He's just doing, good. He's making money. He's now contributing to this family. That's great. And then a missions trip opportunity came up through our church. And I really wanted to go to this. And it was going to Europe and singing in a group and things like that, which I thought it was just kind of a small ensemble with the drama team that went with us. And it was very exciting, but it required some practices before we went, and I was going to be gone for a while. So I told my dad, I really want to go and do this, but I'm going to have to quit my job and to do this. And he said to me, and I told him, I said, I think this is really what God wants me to do. And he said, I don't think that's God. I think that's a stupid idea. It crushed me. It crushed me. But I felt this is what I wanted to do. And then I went and did it. And then my dad came back to me and he said, I'm sorry for saying that. What I said to you was based upon, we were financially struggling and he just wanted to make sure that I provided, I was helping out. Yeah. And he acknowledged that. He had told me that. And that was so reassuring to me. We're not always going to get it right. Parents aren't always going to get it right. But to be able to be, like we talked about before, having real integrity and understanding right and wrong, morally right and wrong.
He kind of patched you up.
He patched me up like I needed to be patched up in that. Yeah, exactly. I love that phrase. So we get the opportunity as leaders, as mentors, to be able to, because I deal with the kids who haven't been patched up. I get to work with the kids and patch them up, and I have to do it in a very real and authentic way that is saying, you can really do this.
Yeah.
This is really who you are. I see that gifting. And, I'm sure you remember we've had conversations where I've just described what I've seen happening in your life and the gifts that you have, that you're on your way there. God's given you some real gifts and real talents.
And I will say from that gives me a sense of that confidence too.
Yeah.
And just who I am and knowing the confidence in God's plan for my life. It's like, oh yeah, He has given me this gift of my individualism.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use it.
Yeah. Right.
So that's been encouraging.
So Carson, when we think about these 5 things that are necessary for people to thrive as men, accomplishing what our call is to bring life into people, if we're aware of these 5 things and we see deficits in people, we get the opportunity to contribute where we can to, like you said, patch it up.
Yeah.
And I think that will make a difference for us. We'll stand as pillars in their life to help them where they need the help.
Yeah.
Thanks for having this conversation with me. I look forward to further ones.
Yes, excited to be here and happy to film more.